Welcome to Beyond Words. I'm Douglas Prue. Blues is uniquely North American and attributed to Afro-Americans, but as we'll see, wasn't born from those roots alone. The music began as a unique merger of European and African traditions around 1860 in the Mississippi Delta. But what historians seem to overlook is the integral role the natives of this region played in the birth of a virtual religion.
What are you talking about? Native people in the blues, and I give them those examples, the stomp dance, round dance songs. What's the basis of the blues? The heartbeat. It's a drum beat, right? The heartbeat of Mother Earth. We had a play in that.
Welcome back. New Orleans is at the heart of the Mississippi Delta blues. It's also home to Cajun, Zydeco, and Creole music. A lot of these rhythmic styles are worlds away from the token Indian beat. For instance, the swing cadence so prevalent in the blues is 100% Native American and is a homage to the heartbeat.
Hey yo, hey ya, hey yo, yo, hey, hi. Yo, hey, yo, yo, hey, oh, hey, yo, hey, oh, hi, yo, hey, oh, hi, yo, hey, oh, hey, ya, hey, yo, hey, ya, hey, yo. Hey, hey, yo, hey, ya, hey, yo, yo, way, hi.
The filmmaker, Catherine Bainbridge, says the music is loved because it comes from the heart.
The violence and oppression, of course, against people of color, though, was like off the hook. And out of that violence comes this beautiful music. Because music is like a healing balm. Right? When everyone says the blues isn't sad. It speaks about what's going on so people can feel healed. So people can feel they can handle what they're having to endure.
The film deconstructs America's violent history and the origin of American music, blues, jazz, rock, and folk. It traces the influence of Native American Indian culture as it blended with African American and follows the evolution of the music.
You can hear the spirit of some of the old music before plantations and slavery and so forth and colonization. People are really shocked when they hear the traditional music of the South, East, They're like, that's Indian music? I thought that was African music.
The film reveals how American music has so much power. As Indians and slaves mingled, the music that emerged was a result of the blending of America's violent and rich cultural history. Carolyn Turner, VOA News.
I loved Muskogee or Creek Seminole stomp dance because that's what I knew. Mm-hmm. And then there's a whole lot of discussion on, goes back years and years and years. You have the Trail of Tears, you have this native people, you know, slaves getting to native land and coming across, and the freedmen. You have a whole complicated history in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. But you have 400 years of this, the racial, interracial being put in the same spot.
This kind of mutual influence that even happens in the music.
Yes.
You'll notice that the percussion instruments on these two ladies' legs are a little different from each other. One of them is real traditional. Back a few hundred years ago, they tell me that our people used deer claws, and they also used turtle shells. We still use turtle shells to an extent. Some of our ceremonial grounds are purely traditional. They only allow turtle shells on their grounds. Would you raise your skirt just a little bit? This is a turtle shell leggings for percussion. If you would, just give them a short demonstration of the sound of these turtle shells. Okay, that's a turtle shell leggings. And as I mentioned to you, we evolve. We sometimes we take shortcuts, but we're like anybody else. We look for ways to do things a little more efficiently.
Stomp dancing, you'll find among the tribes in the southeastern United States, the Cherokee in North Carolina, the Seminole in Florida, the Miccosukee in Florida, the Choctaw of Mississippi, the Coushatta of Louisiana, the Porch Creeks of Alabama, all have a similar type of dance that we do, and we all call it stomp dancing. Now, we have a story that we'd like to share with you as well about where our stomp dancing came from. We haven't always done the form of stomp dancing, and people always ask us, well, your tribe is only 400 years old. That's the first time you see the word Seminole appear. This is true. We've only been known as Seminole for about the last 400 years, but we've been in Florida for a long time before that. And so some of our songs are thousands of years old. Some of them are only a couple hundred years old. And I think we're going to do one later that's comes from the turn of the century, around 1900. So we have songs that are still being written today. So our songs are constantly evolving, constantly being born. So we're going to share songs from different time periods in our history. So you'll get to hear those songs that are thousands of years old in an ancient language. And we do speak 3 languages. We have 3 languages that we use in the Seminole Tribe of Florida. One being the Miccosukee language, one being the Creek language, and one coming from an ancient people called the Calusa, or in the history books they're called Calusa. To us, we call them the Uwayache, the ancient ones. And so we use all of those in our dancing and our presentations for the public. We hope you enjoy it.
And I was saying African sensibility in Muskogee stomp dance. And someone, Chernoff, had written a book on sensibility as the sense of it. So when I go there, right on the cover of a book that I have had since I was little, so my mother got the book, there has African people with rattles on. The women have rattles on their lower leg. Yes, I thought, right, I just noticed that since I'm looking for that. I'm finding it, very much so. But they also will have the spiral and the dances and it's all there. So what I would say is that when something is familiar, so if you have African slaves being brought over, that's very familiar. And the idea, and at night dances, so you have a set of commonalities between the two. So I'm not saying that one did or jazz or this, there's all, and you mentioned Joy Harjo, she has quite strong feelings about, who led what. But that would be how I would assess it, that it was somewhere to belong, as a sense of community. And so you have so it makes sense for Native people to use jazz to get as a message. Like, it makes sense to go both ways, I guess, and to develop into something else.
Okay.
I don't know if that...
That's very helpful. Yeah, and it sounds like you're talking about a kind of cross-pollination in a sense.
Y'all say you ready?
Yeah. Say y'all don't want to. Anything you
Rumble, the Indians who rocked the world, takes a deep dive into America's violent past and the music that emerged as indigenous Indians and slaves shared their stories and music.
For me, it was just a huge revelation that the banjo was an African instrument. The banjo for the first 100 years of its existence, was not a white instrument, at all. It was a plantation instrument.
Most of American music, especially American music dealing with African Americans, comes from the African American experience, comes from Africa, and it has evolved into the different forms of music that you hear today.
The polyrhythms that come from Africa are definitely in jazz and in blues music. That's where the start of those two genres came from, was from those rhythms. And so I think people will get the connection once they listen to African music, once they listen to not just vocal music, but just instrumental music. And to hear those rhythms, the same rhythms that you hear in jazz, the same rhythms that you hear in blues, they're all connected. It all comes from the motherland.
The leader of the group is the bell. Everyone listens carefully to what the bell plays because each must play his rhythms against the sound of the bell. Let's listen one at a time to all the different rhythms in a piece from the Ewe tribe about bravery in battle.
Well, it's Long John, Long John, he's long gone, long gone, he's long gone, he's long gone, he's long gone, long gone. Well, if I had listened, what the roses say, I could been at home, then the roses say, well, if I wouldn't listen, got to run and around, first thing I know.
When the African polyrhythm meets the American Indian 4 on the floor, you had the birth of American music. African music is not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a polyrhythmic music. Native American music and Native American singing, when you hear it, and you hear it in this film, it's going to blow your mind.
When the African polyrhythms and the Native American folk on the floor came together, that was the beginning of what became American music.
Rumble, the Indians who rocked the world, the untold story of Native American influence on American music, offers music buffs a backstage pass to revisit great iconic concerts from rock history. Carolyn Turner, VOA News.
Welcome back to Beyond Words. Welcome back. Pura Fay, Jennifer, and Sunny make up Eulali, a singing group that combines traditional octaval melodies with a hint of classical European harmony. Their roots are in the Deep South, and their nation, the Tuscaroras, developed lasting ties with Africans displaced during the slave trading era.
Singing is a tradition in our family, so in a sense it's like our first language just about. So I've been singing all my life. So I grew up with all these women in our family. They always sang together.
The Stomp dance, performed here by the Monk Sanders family singers, is a traditional Tuscarora dance.
Four-step war dance. And, and I'm pretty sure that, that a lot of this had happened long before DeSoto ever came along. But, this here is the recordings that we had. And so if you ever get a chance, you look into the Alabama Chronicles, and this here tells of some of the things that went on that they had written down. And so with this here, we're going to ask Mr. Brad Joe to lead us in the four-step war dance, if he will chant the song for us.
Yeah, you, way ya, 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 way ya. Why yo Yahweh, 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 way Yahweh, 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 why yo Yahweh, 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 why yo Yahweh.
Native American influence on American music. In the United States, the influence of the Native American people is undeniable. Our history and landscape are marked by words such as Tuscaloosa, Tumsuba, Tallahala, Chattahoochee, and Cheehaw, to name a few, along with impressive structures such as Emerald Mound near Natchez, Mississippi, and Cahokia Mounds in Illinois, all of which provide a valuable testimony for our first people. During my early teenage years, my parents hosted their friends from the Conehatta, Mississippi reservation at our house. Our Choctaw friends performed native dances, sang and cooked a mixture of corn hominy, lard, and pork, seasoned with salt and pepper. All of this outdoors in a large, black, cast iron pot. A tribal elder stirred the food often with a wooden stick. I was mesmerized by the smell of the food wafting in the yard, the singing, and rattlesnake dance, but at the time did not understand the impact these activities had on larger American culture and music. Charlie Patton was born around 1891 in Mississippi and is considered by many one of the founders of the Delta Blues. During his brief 43-year life, Patton's contributions to American music cannot be overstated. In listening to some of his recordings, the vocalization and instrumentation harken back to what I heard during the Choctaw dances at my parents' house. Here is an example of Charlie Patton singing. The last one was the Choctaw singing again. Clearly, he was part of the great Native American singing tradition. Patton's ethnic composition has been described as fully Native American or a mixture of Native American black and white. The famous African American blues singer Howlin' Wolf, who listened to and received training from Patton, described him as follows. Charlie Patton was an Indian, and he was the baddest explicative in the world, meaning blues player, of course. As we approach Columbus Day on October 12, 2020, let us remember that our Native American siblings were here in this place, in these United States, thousands of years prior to Europeans, and created very complex civilizations. And our first people are still with us today, contributing to who we are both genetically and culturally. Lord, may we embark upon a new age of discovery, where the image of a weary Native American riding limp on a weary horse, both with heads sloping downward, is replaced by the true reality of a resilient, artistic, and accomplished people, and whose contributions to the United States are fully recognized and appreciated. May these valuable code talkers teach us how to translate our words of fear and hate into words and actions befitting of God's love for us all.
And so people go, you're saying that all of this came out of this? And I said, yeah, but it's never been acknowledged.
The words slavery and persecution are synonymous with African Americans. Genocide and ethnic cleansing with Native Americans. When these two races were pitted against overwhelming odds and forced into terrible situations, it was only natural that they banded together as anyone would for survival.
That's a little bit of Cajun for you.
From underground railways bringing people into the relative freedom of northern reservations, to carefully planned uprisings against slave owners, these people forged alliances that melded the two cultures in every conceivable way.
Some say John was a Baptist. Some say John was a Jew. But I say John was a preacher, cause my Bible says so too. I say, roll, Judda, roll, roll, Judda,
I am absolutely convinced that we've survived because we've managed to hang on to language, and we've managed to hang on to ceremonies that we've had since the beginning of time.
You turn around, dig a hole in the ground. Oh, Emma, oh.
Say, Emma, you from the country.
Oh, Emma, oh. You turn around, dig a hole in the ground. Oh, Emma, oh.
Emma, help me to pull these weeds.
Oh, Emma, oh. You turn around, dig a hole in the ground. Oh, Emma, oh.
Emma works harder than two grown men.
Whoa-hee-yo, yo-halena. 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 Yo, yo, way-ha, 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 yo, yo, way-ha.
They came via the Underground Railway, which was a network of safe houses and individuals who helped runaway slaves reach free states in the American North and Canada.
Rapping on my knees.
It was most effective after the passage of the Fugitive Slave Act, which enabled slave hunters to pursue runaways onto free soil. It is estimated that about 30,000 slaves reached Canada by the railway.
Now I think I'm able to carry on.
You know, Tuscarora people were very key in what became called the Underground Railroad. I don't know if you know what that is. As part of American history, I guess. This song is sort of dedicated to some of the history that involved Native people and slaves, whether they were African or indentured servants or whoever it was. There's a lot of things were shared: good music, good food, and good-looking people. The names of the faces have been silenced and erased from history's recorded time and place. As we step back through our ancestors' paths, through the trees, the rivers, and the womb, and the sacred fire, we find that the people and the land are one and the same, and the spirit and the blood of our ancestors are within us, and we shall never, never die. I'm going home, going home. North Carolina is crying in my soul. Creator, I'm reaching out to you. Tell them on the other side that they are alive within my soul. Return their prayers that run through my veins. Return the land and heal her pain. In truth, tell the world the blues where it comes from. I'm going home, going home. North Carolina is crying in my soul. Where the Neuse River runs through a land where my great-grandmother sleeps under the earth. Blood all scattered, our nation was free. I hear Nigerian chains, they say are buried real deep. Tobacco fields, trail of tears, stolen people on stolen land. I'm going home, going home. North Carolina is crying in my soul. Creator, I'm reaching out to you. Tell them on the other side that they are alive within my soul. Return their prayers that run through my veins. Return the land and heal her pain. The hidden truth, tell the world the blues where it comes from. I'm going home, going home. North Carolina is crying in my soul. Creator, I'm reaching out to you.
Seeing the Indians at Carnival was getting to know who I was. That was the only time that black men could put on feathers. We are a combination of indigenous people and indigenous people of Africa.
It was a Muskogean village through this area. Our music is called Stomp Dance, and what you hear first is the calling, a call and response, where the leader calls out, and then the men answer. When you hear that up against blues, rock, jazz, it's part of the origin.
Everybody in the neighborhood, everybody has grown up on this. They've been doing this 150 years.
Well, it's early in the morning, baby, when I ride, Lordy Mama. Well, it's early in the morning, baby, when I ride. Well, it's early in the morning, baby, when I ride, Lordy, baby. I'll be so glad when the sun goes down. When the sun goes down. I'll be so glad when the sun goes down. When the sun goes down. I ain't all that sleepy, but I wanna lie down. I don't want no sugar in my coffee. It make me mean, Lord. It make me mean.
That historical interaction that happened with African runaway slaves and Native people is documented you don't hear about it very much, but there are documentaries on it. So we're throwing it out there, and people have responded positively.
There was a song came on the radio, a guitar instrumental, and it changed everything.
Link Ray, it's rock and roll.
Rumble. Yeah, that's the one.
Rumble.
Hey, Rumble.
Rumble had the power to help me say, I'm gonna be a musician.
And then I found out that he was an Indian.
The music that we know here in the United States is fully supported by input from Native and indigenous people.
Mr. Randy Castillo! Randy had become one of the most influential heavy metal drummers in the world.
This is Jesse Ed Davis.
I particularly fell in love with Jesse Edwin Davis. He was a Taj Mahal, and Taj's album is what spurred me to rock more.
And here's your rocking chair lady, Mildred Bailey.
From 16 to 20 years old, that's the only thing I listened to was Mildred Bailey. I just said, I want to learn how to sing like her.
Figuring out that these people were Indians, and then we started to ask ourselves, why didn't anyone else know that?
There was this key expression, be proud you're an Indian, but be careful who you tell.
From Charlie Patton to Link Ray, Robbie Robertson invented the genre. Jimi Hendrix is the best in his field. Jesse Ed Davis, everybody wanted him. Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
This has gone too long under the radar.
welcome back to Latin Nation. I'm your host, Humberto Guida. Now, at the top of the show, I mentioned how Latinos are sorely underrepresented, but that theme is even more prevalent in the indigenous community throughout North and South America. Coming up, we dive into a revelatory documentary, an award winner at the Sundance Film Festival, by the way, which brings to light the profound and largely unrecognized influence of indigenous performers on American music. Focusing on Native American icons like Link Wray, Jimi Hendrix, who was part Native, Buffy Sainte-Marie, Taboo from the Black Eyed Peas, and many others, the film called Rumble, The Indians Who Rocked the World, shows us how these pioneering musicians helped shape rock and roll. It's something that matters to Latinos since many in our community also share indigenous roots that are often overlooked.
I'm Cheyenne Barefoot, your favorite alternative host of Sovereign Innovations. Let me take you on a musical journey to understand how indigenous music and musicians are captivating and innovating the music industry. Humans have been creating tunes to bop their heads to for thousands of years. And for indigenous communities, a lot of our traditional music is how we connect to our ancestors. But before we get into exactly how traditional indigenous music has impacted modern genres, we first got to understand the core component that infuses all traditional indigenous music together, the drum. See, it's far more than an instrument made out of a wooden frame with stretched animal hide. For us, it's the heartbeat of Mother Earth. For centuries, this instrument has brought together indigenous communities, and it holds a special significance within indigenous tribes across Turtle Island.
When I go back home and I hear our own drums, or even when I'm at a powwow, it has its own voice, you know, with every step, it's like a natural metronome. It's the heartbeat of our Mother Earth. And I feel like I'm most in tune with that because it's the time where I can self-reflect.
Humans are surrounded by sound. I mean, unless you're in a soundproof room like me right now. And what's sound? Vibrations. Studies have shown that sound vibrations, which include those from traditional drums, can have positive effects on, okay, bear with me y'all, hemodynamic, neurological, and musculoskeletal systems in the human body. Huh, that wasn't so bad.
If it takes something like hitting some drums to, you know, get you through the day, then I definitely encourage it. You know, you hear that natural beat and you feel it in your heart and it's like a pulse. So it's you know, a whole nother sensation and definitely one of my best therapies.
Let's take another important cultural instrument for indigenous peoples, the flute. Sure, many associate it with the new age sound of spas in the Southwest, but indigenous peoples of the Americas have been creating and playing flutes for thousands of years. And the oldest modern Native American flute dates back to the mid-1800s. One study noted the effects of flute vibrations on the human body were noticeable and significant, from lowered heart rate to increase in delta and theta brainwaves. These are the brainwaves closely associated with relaxation and sleep. Okay, so we have heartbeats and brainwaves and disproving long-held misconceptions about our music and all that jazz. So at this point, I know you want to know where the innovation is. Well, Indigenous people have been marching to the beat of our own drum for centuries, and a component of that march is adaptation. See, for us as Indigenous people dealing with over 500 years of genocide and ethnocide, this trait has become critically important for not only survival, but for day-to-day innovations. And while adaptation isn't only unique to Indigenous communities, Indigenous musicians have been playing with instrumentation and adaptation for centuries.